जस्ट हैव अ लुक कि आपको चैप्टर 1 में दैट इज़ वेरिएशंस इन साइकोलॉजिकल एट्रीब्यूट्स में मेनली क्या क्या पढ़ना है. Obviously, first of all, for every topic it is always introduction. Secondly, you have to study about the individual differences in human functioning. Third topic is assessment of psychological attributes. Fourth is intelligence. Fifth topic is theories of intelligence. Sixth is individual differences in intelligence. Seventh is culture and intelligence. Eighth is emotional intelligence. Ninth is spatial abilities. And the last topic is creativity. Dear students, for grade 12, NCERT psychology syllabus is this way. You are supposed to study over 9 chapters, of which first chapter is variations in psychological attributes. Second is self and personality. Third is meeting life challenges. Fourth is psychological disorders. Fifth is therapeutic approaches. Sixth is attitude and social cognition. Seventh is social influence and group processes. Eighth is psychology and life. And the last is developing psychological skills. दुनिया में सब लोग और हर इंसान ही नहीं, इवन जानवर, पशु पक्षी सभी आपस में वैरायटी रखते हैं, डिफरेंस रखते हैं. कोई भी एक दूसरे से बिल्कुल मैच नहीं करता. ऑलराइट, इस प्रकार से ब्रॉडली हम डिवाइड कर सकते हैं डिफरेंसेस को बेस्ड ऑन 2 पैरामीटर्स, दैट इज फिजिकल डायमेंशंस एंड साइकोलॉजिकल डायमेंशंस. Physical dimensions are based on the physical characteristics differences like height, weight, color and all. हमारा सबका different होता है. Psychological dimensions में आप देखेंगे कुछ बहुत bright होते हैं, dominating होते हैं, कुछ submissive होते हैं, dull होते हैं. This way it is different. So, and if we define professionally the definition of individual differences, then it is individual differences refer to distinctiveness and variations among people's characteristics and behavior patterns. Many psychologists believe that our behaviors are influenced by our personal traits, and some other hold the view that our behaviors are influenced more by situational factors, and this view is called as situationism. And according to it, कुछ लोग ऐसे हो सकते हैं जो हमें दिखते हैं काफ़ी डोमिनेटिंग हैं, लेकिन कुछ स्पेसिफिक सिचुएशंस में हम सबमिसिव बिहेव कर सकते हैं. वहीं कुछ लोग ऐसे भी दिख सकते हैं जो हमें लगता है काफ़ी सॉफ्ट हैं, डेलिकेट हैं, बट स्पेसिफिक सिचुएशंस में काफ़ी एरोगेंट और एग्रेसिव बिहेव कर सकते हैं. What is assessment? Here, assessment refers to the measurement of psychological attributes of individuals and their evaluation, often using multiple methods in terms of certain standards of comparison. Okay? And these psychological assessments uses systematic testing procedures to evaluate abilities, behaviors, and personal qualities of the individuals. And the main domains of psychological attributes are: first is intelligence, second aptitude, third interest, fourth personality, fifth values. Intelligence is the global capacity to understand the world, think rationally, and use available resources effectively when faced with challenges. Intelligence tests provide a global measure of a person's general cognitive competence, including the ability to profit from schooling. Generally, students having low intelligence are not likely to do so well in school-related examinations, but Their success in life is not associated only with their intelligence test scores. Aptitude refers to an individual's underlying potential for acquiring skills. Aptitude tests are used to predict what an individual will be able to do if given proper environment and training. A person with high mechanical aptitude can profit from appropriate training and can do well as an engineer. Similarly, a person having high language aptitude can be trained. Interest is an individual's preference for engaging in one or more specific activities relative to others. Assessment of interest of students may help to decide what subjects or courses they can pursue comfortably and with pleasure. Knowledge of interest helps us in making choices that promote life satisfaction and performance on jobs. Personality refers to a relatively enduring characteristic of a person that makes him or her distinct from others. Personality tests try to assess an individual's unique characteristics, like whether one is dominant or submissive, outgoing or withdrawn, moody or emotionally stable, etc. Personality assessment helps us to explain an individual's behavior and predict how he or she will behave in future. Values are enduring beliefs about an ideal mode of behavior. A person having a value sets a standard for guiding his or her actions in life and also for judging others. In value assessment, we try to determine the dominant values of a person, like political, religious, social, or economical. Now, we have 5 types of assessment method. These methods are used for psychological assessment, and these are: first is psychological test, second is interview, third is case study, fourth is observation, and fifth is self-report. Psychological test is an objective and standardized measure of an individual's mental or behavioral characteristics. Objective tests have been developed to measure all the dimensions of psychological attributes like intelligence, aptitude, etc. And these tests are widely used for the purpose of clinical diagnosis, guidance, personal selection, placement, and training. Besides objective tests, psychologists have also developed certain projective tests, especially for the assessment of personality. Interview involves seeking information from a person on a one-to-one basis, and you may see it being used when a counselor interacts with the client. A salesperson makes a door-to-door survey regarding the usefulness of a particular product. An employer selects employees for his or her organization. Or a journalist interviews important people on issues of national and international importance. Case study is an in-depth study of the individual in terms of his or her psychological attributes, psychological history in the context of his or her psychosocial and physical environment, psychosocial and physical environment. Case studies are widely used by clinical psychologists. Case analysis of the lives of great people can also be highly illuminating for those willing to learn from their life experiences. Case studies are based on data generated by different methods like interview, observation, questionnaire, psychological tests, etc. Observation involves employing systematic, organized, and objective procedures to record behavioral phenomena occurring naturally in real time. Certain phenomena such as mother-child interactions can be easily studied through observation. And the major problem with observational methods are that the observer has little control over the situation and the reports may suffer from subjective interpretation of the observer. Self-report is a method in which a person provides factual information about himself or herself or the opinions, beliefs, etc. that he or she holds. Such information may be obtained by using an interview schedule or a questionnaire or a psychological test or even a personal diary. Intelligence is a key construct employed to know how individuals differ from one another. It also provides an understanding of how people adapt their behavior according to the environment they live in. Psychological notion of intelligence is quite different from the common-sensical notion of intelligence. If we watch an intelligent person, we are likely to see in him or her attributes like mental alertness, creative wit, quickness in learning, and ability to understand relationships. According to Oxford Dictionary, intelligence is the power of perceiving, learning, understanding, and knowing. According to Alfred Binet, who is the first psychologist who worked on intelligence, it is the ability to judge well, understand well, and to reason well. Theories of intelligence. Psychologists have proposed several theories of intelligence, and these can be broadly classified as either representing a psychometric approach is also called a structural approach, or an information processing approach. The psychometric approach considers intelligence as an aggregate of abilities, and it expresses the individual's performance in terms of a single index of cognitive abilities. Whereas information processing approach describes the processes people use in intellectual reasoning and problem solving, and the major focus of this approach is on how an intelligent person acts rather than focusing on the structure of intelligence or its underlying dimensions. Information processing approaches emphasize studying cognitive functions underlying intelligent behavior. The first is uni or one-factor theory, and it is given by Alfred Binet. So Alfred Binet's theory of intelligence was rather simple as it arose from his interest in differentiating more intelligent from less intelligent individuals. He conceptualized intelligence as consisting of one similar set of abilities which can be used for solving any or every problem in an individual's environment, and therefore it is called as unifactor or one-factor theory. But this theory came to be disputed when psychologists started analyzing data of individuals which was collected using Binet's test. In 1927, Charles Spearman proposed two-factor theory of intelligence, employing a statistical method called factor analysis. He showed that intelligence consisted of a general factor, that is G factor, and some specific factors, that is S factors. The G factor includes mental operations which are primary and common to all performances. In addition to the G factor, he said that there are also many specific abilities. These are contained in what he called the S factor, like excellent singers, architects, scientists, athletes. They may be high on G factor, but in addition to this, they have specific abilities which allow them to excel in their respective domains. Louis Thurston proposed the theory of primary mental abilities. It states that intelligence consists of 7 primary abilities, each of which is relatively independent of the others, like verbal comprehension. Second is numerical abilities. Third is spatial relations. Fourth is perceptual speed. Fifth is word fluency. Sixth is memory. And seventh is inductive reasoning. Arthur Jensen proposed a hierarchical model of intelligence consisting of abilities operating at 2 levels called level 1 and level 2. So level first is the associative learning, in which output is more or less similar to the input. And level second is called as cognitive competence, which involves high order skills as they transforms the input to produce an effective output. J.P. Guilford proposed the structure of intellect model, which classifies intellectual traits among 3 dimensions. First is operations, second is contents, and third is products. Operations are what the respondent does. These include cognition, memory recording, memory retention, divergent production, convergent production, and evaluation. Content refers to the nature of materials or informations on which intellectual operations are performed. These include visual, auditory, symbolic, and behavioral. Product refers to the form in which information is processed by the respondent. Products are classified into units, classes, relations, systems, transformations, and implications. Theory of multiple intelligence, which is given by Howard Gardner. According to him, intelligence is not a single entity. Rather, distinct types of intelligence exist. So this means that if a person exhibits one type of intelligence, it doesn't necessarily indicate being high or low on other types of intelligence. And his main types are: first is linguistic, second is logical or mathematical, third is spatial, fourth is musical, fifth is bodily or kinesthetic, sixth is interpersonal, seventh is intrapersonal, and eighth is naturalistic. Now, according to the American Association on Mental Deficiency, that is AAMD, intellectual disability is significantly sub-average general intellectual functioning existing concurrently with deficits in adaptive behavior and manifested during the developmental period. Definition points to 3 basic features. First, in order to be judged as intellectually disabled, a person must show significantly sub-average intellectual functioning. Person having IQs below 70 are judged to have sub-average intelligence. The second relates to deficits in adaptive behavior. Adaptive behavior refers to a person's capacity to be independent and deal effectively with one's environment. And the third feature is that the deficits must be observed during the developmental period, that is between 0 and 18 years of age. Different levels of intellectual disability are: mild, Their IQ ranges from 55 to approximately 70. Moderate. IQs from 35 to 55. Severe. From 20 to 35. And profound. IQ is below 20. Intellectually gifted individuals show higher performance because of their outstanding potentialities. The study of gifted individuals began in 1925 when Lewis Terman followed the lives of about 1,500 children with IQs of 130 and above to examine how intelligence was related to occupational success and life adjustment. Although the terms talent and giftedness are often used interchangeably, they mean different things. Giftedness is an exceptional general ability shown in superior performance in a wide variety of areas, whereas talent is a narrower term and refers to remarkable ability in a specific field. So the highly talented are sometimes called prodigies. Giftedness from the teacher's point of view depends on a combination of high ability, high creativity, and high commitment. So gifted children show early signs of intellectual superiority. Even during infancy and early childhood, they show larger attention span, good recognition, memory, preference for novelty, sensitivity to environmental changes, and early appearance of language skills. To equate giftedness with brilliant academic performance is not correct. Athletes who show superior psychomotor ability are also gifted. And each gifted student possesses different strengths, personalities, and characteristics. Robert Sternberg in 1985 proposed the triarchic theory of intelligence. Sternberg views intelligence as the ability to adapt, to shape, and select environment to accomplish one's goal and those of one's society and culture. According to this theory, there are three basic types of intelligence: componential, experiential, and contextual. Componential or analytical intelligence is the analysis of information to solve problems. Persons high on this ability think analytically and critically and succeed in schools. This intelligence has three components, each serving a different function. First is the knowledge acquisition component, which is responsible for learning and acquisition of the ways of doing things. Second is the meta or higher order component, which involves planning concerning what to do and how to do. Third is the performance component, which involves actually doing things. Experiential intelligence or creative intelligence is involved in using past experiences creatively to solve novel problems. It is reflected in creative performance. Persons high on this aspect integrate different experiences in an original way to make new discoveries and inventions. They quickly find out which information is crucial in a given situation. Contextual intelligence or practical intelligence involves the ability to deal with environmental demands encountered on a daily basis. It may be called street smartness or business sense. Persons high on this aspect easily adapt to their present environment or select a more favorable environment than the existing one, or modify the environment to fit their needs. Therefore, they turn out to be successful in life. Planning, attention arousal, and simultaneous successive model of intelligence, that is PASS model of intelligence. It was developed by J.P. Das, Jack Naglieri, and Kirby in 1994. According to this model, intellectual activity involves the interdependent functioning of three neurological systems called the functional units of brain. These units are responsible for arousal or attention, coding or processing, and planning respectively. A battery of tests known as Cognitive Assessment System, that is CAS, is developed by Das and Naglieri. It consists of verbal as well as non-verbal tasks that measure basic cognitive functions presumed to be independent of schooling. The battery of tests is meant for individuals between 5 and 18 years of age, and the result of assessment can be used to remedy cognitive deficits of children with learning problems, and this model represents the information processing approach to intelligence. Intelligence as interplay of nature and nurture. The evidence for hereditary influences on intelligence comes mainly from studies on twins and adopted children. The intelligence of identical twins reared together correlate almost 0.90. Twins separated early in childhood also show considerable similarity in their intellectual, personality, and behavioral characteristics. The intelligence of identical twins reared in different environments correlate 0.72. Those of fraternal twins reared together correlate almost 0.60. And those of brothers and sisters reared together correlate about 0.50. While siblings reared apart correlate about 0.25. Another line of evidence comes from the studies of adopted children, which show that children's intelligence is more similar to their biological rather than adopted parents. With respect to the role of environment, studies have reported that as children grow in age, their intelligence level tends to move closer to that of their adoptive parents. Children from disadvantaged homes adopted into families with higher socio-economic status exhibit a large increase in their intelligence scores. There is evidence that environmental deprivation lowers intelligence, while rich nutrition, good family background, and quality schooling increases intelligence. There is a general consensus among psychologists that intelligence is a product of complex interaction of heredity, that is nature, and environment, that is nurture. Heredity can best be viewed as something that sets a range within which an individual's development is actually shaped by the support and opportunities of the environment. It was was in 1905 that Alfred Binet and Theodore Simon made the first successful attempt to formally measure intelligence. In 1908, when the scale was revised, they gave the concept of mental age, which is a measure of a person's intellectual development relative to people of his or her age group. A mental age of 5 means that a child's performance on an intelligence test equals the average performance level of a group of 5 years old. Chronological age is the biological age from birth. A bright child's. In 1912, William Stone, a German psychologist, devised the concept of intelligence quotient. IQ refers to mental age upon chronological age into 100. That is mental age divided by chronological age and multiplied by 100. Some important characteristics of a gifted children are advanced logical thinking, questioning and problem-solving behavior, high speed in processing information, superior generalization and discrimination ability, advanced level of original and creative thinking, high level of intrinsic motivation and self-esteem, independent and non-conformist thinking, preference for solitary academic activities for long periods. Performance on intelligence test is not the only measure for identifying the gifted. Many other sources of information such as teachers' judgment, school achievement record, parents' interviews, peer and self-ratings, etc. can be used in combination with intellectual assessment. To reach their full potential, gifted children require special attention and different educational programs beyond those provided to normal children in regular classrooms. These may include life enrichment programs that can sharpen children's skill in productive thinking, planning, decision-making, and communication. Now, types of intelligence tests. These are of several types on the basis of their administration procedure. They can be categorized as individual or group test. They can also be classified as either verbal or performance test on the basis of the nature of items used. Depending upon the extent to which an intelligence test favors one culture over another, it can be judged as either culture fair or culture biased. An individual intelligence test is one which can be administered to one person at a time. A group intelligence test can be administered to several persons simultaneously. Individual tests require the test administrator to establish a rapport with the subject and be sensitive to his or her feelings, moods, and expressions during the testing session. Tests, however, do not allow an opportunity to be familiar with the subject's feelings. Individual tests allow people to answer orally or in a written form or manipulate objects as per tester's instructions. Group tests generally seek written answers, usually in a multiple choice format. An intelligence test may be fully verbal, fully non-verbal, or fully performance-based, or it may consist of a mixture of items from each category. Verbal tests require subjects to give verbal responses either orally or in a written form. Therefore, verbal tests can be administered only to literate people. The non-verbal test use pictures or illustrations as test items. Raven's progressive matrices test is an example of a non-verbal test. In this test, the subject examines an incomplete pattern and chooses a figure from the alternatives that will complete the pattern. Performance test requires subjects to manipulate objects and other material to perform a task. Written language is not necessary for answering the items. For example, course block design test contains a number of wooden blocks, and the subject is asked to arrange the blocks within a time period to produce a given design. Major advantage of performance tests is that they can be easily administered to persons from different cultures. Intelligence tests can be culture fair or culture biased. Many intelligence tests show a bias to the culture in which they are developed. Tests developed in America and Europe represent an urban and middle class cultural ethos. Hence, educated middle class white subjects generally perform well on those tests. The items do not respect the cultural perspectives of Asia and Africa. The norms for these tests are also drawn from Western cultural groups. So it is nearly impossible to design a test that can be applied equally meaningfully in all cultures. Intelligence testing in India. S.M. Mohsen made a pioneering attempt in constructing an intelligence test in Hindi. In 1930, C.H. Rice attempted to standardize Bennett's test in Urdu and Punjabi. About the same time, Mahalanobis attempted to standardize Bennett's test in Bengali. Attempts were also made by Indian researchers to develop Indian norms for some Western tests including RPM, WAIS, Alexander's Pass-Along, Cube construction and course block design. Long and Mehta prepared a mental measurement handbook listing out 103 tests of intelligence in India that were available in various languages. Since then, a number of tests have either been developed or adapted from Western cultures. Intelligence testing in India. S.M. Mohsen made a pioneering attempt in constructing an intelligence test in Hindi. In 1930, C.H. Rice attempted to standardize Bennett's test in Urdu and Punjabi. About the same time, Mahalanobis attempted to standardize Bennett's test in Bengali. Attempts were also made by Indian researchers to develop Indian norms for some Western tests including RPM, WAIS, Alexander's Pass-Along, Cube construction and course block design. The concept of emotional intelligence was first introduced by Salovey and Mayer, who considered emotional intelligence as the ability to monitor one's own and others' emotions, to discriminate among them, and to use the information to guide one's thinking and actions. Emotional quotient is used to express emotional intelligence in the same way as IQ is used to express intelligence. So in simple terms, emotional intelligence refers to the ability to process emotional information accurately and efficiently. Characteristics of emotionally intelligent persons are: perceive and be sensitive to your feelings and emotions. Perceive and be sensitive to various types of emotions in others by noting their body language, voice and tone and facial expressions. Relate your emotions to your thoughts so that you take them into account while solving problems and taking decisions. Understand the powerful influence of the nature and intensity of your emotions. Control and regulate your emotions and their expressions while dealing with self and others to achieve harmony and peace. Aptitude tests are available in two forms: independent, that is a specialized aptitude test, and multiple, that is generalized aptitude test. So clerical aptitude, mechanical aptitude, numerical aptitude, and typing aptitude are independent aptitude tests. Multiple aptitude tests exist in the form of test batteries, which measure aptitude in several separate but homogeneous areas. Differential aptitude test, that is DAT, the General Aptitude Test Battery, that is GATB, and the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, that is ASVAB, are well-known aptitude test batteries. Among these, DAT is most commonly used in educational settings. DAT is most commonly used in educational settings. It consists of 8 independent subtests: verbal reasoning, numerical reasoning, abstract reasoning, clerical speed and accuracy, mechanical reasoning, space relations, spelling, and language usage. J.M. Ocha has developed an Indian adaptation of DAT. Several other aptitude tests have been developed in India for measuring scientific, scholastic, literary, clerical, and teaching aptitudes. There are differences in the potential for creativity across individuals and the manner in which creativity is expressed. Some are highly creative and others are not so creative. Some may express creativity in writing, still others in dance, music, poetry, science, and so on. Manifestations of creativity can be observed in a novel solution to a problem, an invention, composition of a poem, painting, new chemical processes, innovation in law, a breakthrough in preventing a disease, and like. Despite differences, one common element among these is the production of something new and unique. We generally think of creativity in terms of creative persons like Tagore, Einstein, C.V. Raman, Thamarajan, etc., who have made outstanding contributions in different spheres. But in recent years, our understanding of creativity has broadened. Creativity is not just limited to a selected few: the artist, the scientist, the poet, or the inventor. An ordinary individual who is engaged in simple occupations like pottery, carpentry, cooking, etc. can also be creative. Since expressions of creativity are varied, tests have been developed using different stimuli like words, figures, action, and sounds. These tests measure general creative thinking abilities like ability to think of a variety of ideas on a given topic or situation, alternative ways of looking at things, problems, or situations, to guess causes and consequences, to think of unusual ideas, to improve and to use common objects, ask unusual questions, and so on. Investigators have also developed tests of creativity in different areas, such as literary creativity, scientific creativity, mathematical creativity, etc. A general feature of most of the creativity tests is that they are open-ended. They permit the person to think of different answers to the questions or problems in terms of his or her experiences. These help the individual to go in different directions. There are no specified answers to questions or problems in creativity tests. Therefore, there is freedom to use one's imagination and express it in original ways. Creativity tests involve divergent thinking and assess such abilities as the ability to produce a variety of ideas, that is, ideas which are off the beaten track, ability to see new relationships between seemingly unrelated things, ability to guess causes and consequences, ability to put things in a new context, etc. Since expressions of creativity are varied, tests have been developed using the different stimuli like words, figures, actions, and sounds. These tests measure general creative thinking abilities like ability to think of a variety of ideas on a given topic or situation, alternative ways of looking at things, problems, or situations, to guess causes and consequences, to think of unusual ideas, to improve and to use common objects, ask unusual questions, and so on. Some of the famous psychologists who have developed creativity tests are Guilford, Torres, Catena, Wallach, and Kogan, Paramesh, Baker Mehdi, and Passy. Each test has a standardized procedure, a complete set of manual and interpretation guide. These can be used only after extensive training in administration and interpretation of test scores.